Ready check. Check complete.
but that's me. I have to be very clear about the fact that that's me. So look around the back of the monitor, we have some, cooling channels down and this large section here. If you weren't a fan of the back of the 348, had all the Aztec stuff all over the back, actually quite understated. It's probably the best. You've got a little hidden Republic of Gamers logo here. It is adjustable, which we can also see as well. So you've got the adjustment. So you've got a twist that you can do, but you've also got the backwards and forwards, and then obviously turn it round as well, so that you can have it horizontal and vertical if you want. So you've got all of those lovely malarkey options. You can also see that we have some screw holes, and that's so that you can the monitor off of the stand should you wish, mount it on the funky monkey stand, which you may see me using slightly. So here we can see the icon buttons, but the buttons themselves are actually round the back. When we tap button in on the back into our options, and the very first one is open. And what you need to do if you want to turn it up to 165 Hz, in and hit the little tick box for on, and to the max refresh rate, you need to then go and fill this bar up. So turn it up and turn it down, but then keep clicking the red button in, and it will eventually and it will say, you know, we're going to reset the monitor. Once you've done that, it's then 65 Hz, and you then need to go into the NVIDIA control panel and enable your 165 Hz. So when you first buy it and it's only your 144 Hz option, this is why, and the click part and keep enabling it is what you need to do. Right, so then you've got your game visuals, scenery modes, racing modes, cinema modes, RTS, RPG, FPS mode, and you've literally got, so you can go in and enable them and it changes all the colours and the like. You've got filter. Ours is actually off at the moment. You can go down to a level 4 and it does change the colour full lot, as you can see, to help with or looking at your screen all the time, but when you do turn them right up to blue light, it is going to affect the colouring on the, and that might not be that wise for you if you're doing Photoshop, things like that. You've got colour option there, brightness, contrast, and then colour temperature. Image options, we've got ours set to all at the moment. Input select and then system select. You've got OSD position, which we'll show you the OSD in a second. Timeout, which we've got ours turned right down. We'll turn it down a little bit more. Key lock information, but you can see here that 165 Hz. This is another way. Double check that you've got it set correctly. We do have on the side an overclocking button, which you can see that popped up with 165 Hz. The other thing we do have is the setting, so you can have a crosshair, a timer, counter, for example, and you can see that the hairs in the middle, and you can change it to different ones. What we'll do is we'll just fire up Unigine just really quickly. Now you can see I've gone already because I turned the timeout down on it, but you can see it quite happily there. But frames per second counter in this top left hand corner. Now I did get quite excited with this because I thought, oh, this might be a really nice way for us to cheat and be able to get the visual for DirectX 12 frames per second. Sadly, to let you know, Windows 10 DirectX 12 games, it will just sit at the rate that it's set to. Obviously, if we were to our settings, and where is it? We can go back to... But anyway, you get the idea. Yellow nut here. Now this is easy on-screen way, but not really takes up many like CPU cycles. But obviously, with it is something that's not running on the PC, and this is reading it from the actual monitor. If you're running more than one of these, then it might be a bit difficult to be able to on the outside and actually see them though. But see, this is a really nice way of us being able to see colours and everything on the screen as well. Colours on this, they're really nice. I'm not going to say they feel, they don't, that's totally the wrong word, I should not have said that. A lot of depth there. You've got really strong black. I've been, my bench monitor is the Asus screen, and you just don't get the depth and the dark colours on that like you do this. Just plainly and simply because that is a TN and this is an I. This is just so much nicer, and the colours are just much more vivid. It's lovely. Thing that we do get spoken about quite a lot when it comes to PS panels and the Asus ones. Now I've not particularly looked around, and I'm no expert on reviewing these monitors. People were saying about light bleed around. So what we've done is this is, and just in dead pixel, that's actually the mouse, I'll hide it in the white of my logo. Black background, obviously it's got the Asus logo on it, and we've tried this, and you can do restart as well to look for it. And I'm not being funny, I can't really see light bleed round the outside of this at all. Now, this is in the past that you could see a little bit of it. This is just, it's basically not there. And we can try different colours as well. Thank you to Wraithguard for the background. He's one of the Overclock 3D forum members, and he's always coming up with really funky backgrounds for us, so you can have them down. We'll set up a folder for him because he's done loads. So there's your grey. This is probably the one that I would end up using for my desktop as well. So we've got a few little bits and bobs there. Probably not as many from some of the monitor specialists, but I don't pretend to be. Going to skirt over the main details. But just quickly, because we've got all the lights off, you can see the base all lit up. Okay, so I would talk to you about performance with the 1440p resolution as well. Now I personally think 1440p is the perfect mix of what we'll call eye candy, so moving past 1080p and the options that you get with that, and to get that little bit more detail on your panel through the extra pixels. But most importantly, the balance of how much it's going to drive it, because the frames per second difference, even with a 1080, going from a 40p resolution with the game maxed out up to a resolution is quite stark. There's a big, so not only, it's not particularly about having to pay more panels, but it's more about the amount of extra investment that you put into your system to be able to get games to run at frames per second as well. For argument's sake, Asus do ROG 4K monitors, a lot more money, but to be honest with you, the amount of money that you spend on graphics cards to be able to get those extra frames per second is ridiculous. I mean, we've got up to 165 Hz available with this screen, and because of G-Sync, if you're running your card, it will sync the frames together. So whatever card is outputting, the monitor refresh will exactly match it. So that stops all your tearing. But if we were to bring a graph, I mean, this is quite literally, it's a nice and simple way for me to show red that you want to be looking at, and you can see there that you're looking at about 90 frames per second for 1440p with everything maxed out. So you've got the possible eye candy turned on, and you've got both the XIV and 12 options there. But if we were to go to any 4K, what you can see then is you almost half the second to be able to do it. So even with the 1080, which was tested with, and I will put the link in the underneath the for you to go and do it, and I'll try and get a pop-up to come up for you as well. But literally you go from 90 to 50 frames per second just because of that extra resolution. And we can try the game for you as well. We'll go straight on to Sleeping Dogs. This is a graph, so we'll do a two-stage set to the graph again. But again, you go 56 to 41. It's less than half the frames from a 1440p up to 4K. So that's pretty much, I like the fact that yes, with a 1440p, if you want to have all the bells and whistles turned on, you do still need a card with some big drivers, basically, do you know, a big dangly, and you can do it cheaply. Start turning all the settings down, and I don't see the point in having a lovely like this and then turning the settings on the game graphics card's not man enough. So if you are thinking about something 1440p, Swift, G-Sync, all of that type of stuff, then please, I would get your graphics card up to spec first and then get your monitor later, rather than the other way around, because it'll be far frustrating for you to have something this nice and then it slideshow or something like that. So obviously, like I said, we've done this with a 1080 like this turning, so that's pretty much with some big drivers, basically, do you know, a big dangly lock, and you can do it cheaply. You have to start turning all the settings down, and I don't see the point in having a monitor like this and then turning the settings on the game because your graphics card's not man enough. So if you are thinking about like this 1440p, Swift, G-Sync, I mean all of that type of stuff, then please, I say, get your graphics card up to spec first and then get your monitor later, rather than the other way around, because it'll just be more frustrating for you to have something this nice and then into a slideshow or something like that. So obviously, like I said, we've done this with a 1080, which is a pretty single core card. It's obviously a lot of, the other thing to kind of weigh up as well is if you're going to be spending sort of like £600 80, then the £160 for this kind of balances it out. But also something else to kind of keep in mind, I kind of go as far as to say most people will keep a monitor longer than they will a graphics card. If you're in this kind of enthusiast level territory anyway, then this is going to be something you'll probably going to keep for quite a while. So it's spending a little bit more than you know to get cheaper 1440p panels, but obviously they're not going to have massively high refresh rate, might not be IPS. G-Sync was another thing that adds a lot of cost on. But anyway, moving on into a kind of a wrapped up conclusion. I'm hoping that I've a bit of balance there, and also it's literally, you know, I only use a 4K monitor because with 4K tests on the games, 1440p is my chosen like perfect kind of point, in the fact that you know, this for me, even though I could gather a couple of 1080s and, you know, run everything on 4K, I'm generally with. And the other thing is, even with Windows 10 and the fact that you get the scaling options, they're much better on Windows 10 with the icons and stuff. I actually like and prefer using a 1440p resolution for other tasks like Photoshop, video editing, and normal web browsing as well. So if you use it more than just gaming, I've actually got to the point where I've found that 4K was, I didn't particularly like. Maybe I'd been on 1080p monitors for too long, because they still do have 1080p monitors on Orca, but they will be going 40p. So that's another kind of to lean you the path that you know, it might not be right for you, it's certainly right for me. So I'm just trying to explain my thoughts behind it. But this monitor, 660 quid. Yes, for a monitor, a lot of money. I'd actually kind of say it's kind of around the middle of the pack. I'm a lot more money than this now. I've seen monitors for sort of £100 mark, and they're normally the sort of high-end dupery, like, oh my god, monsters. But it's high-quality gaming monitor, which is what we will call it. So, do you get what you pay for? There is always going to be teams that argue between something like an Acer and the Asus ROG monitors. That is, you're never, once you're on one side of the fence, or you know, it's pretty much like a boy war. Just if you're thinking about, you know, the viable purchase, just calm down, go with your gut. It is really, there's very little at the end of the day to distinguish between them without people start arguing. Yeah, it's just probably something, well, that we should just leave it. We don't want to ignite that fire. This is on my, the colours on it are lovely. I will say that, you know, normal desk speakers, but that's just all monitors, not this one. If you've got an NVIDIA card, then it's the G-Sync will change your life. If you've had, once you've got it, you won't go back. Don't forget though that the 160 Hz speakers, I will say that, you know, normal desk speakers, but that's just all monitors, not this. If you've got an NVIDIA graphics card, then it's the G will change your life. If you've had tearing, once you've got it, you won't go back. Don't forget though that the 165 Hz side of it isn't to like NVIDIA directly. So you use the high refresh rate on an AMD card if you've got it. Although to you guys, there are other options for you guys, because you've obviously got to think. You've got FreeSync out there as well, and Asus do have FreeSync. So maybe go and give those a look before you kind of hard cripple yourself, unless you're thinking about upgrading to a different card later. But you've got all of the, you know, height adjustment. It's all nice and tidy. And to be honest with you, it's a no-brainer enthusiast award, because this really, those of us out there that know that we're going to be spending a lot of time whether we're playing our games, all that type of other stuff, and then also we want it to be a bit nice. It's kind of the same kind of territory where you want yourself a nice colour monitor, just like you might want a nice set of headphones or a nice set of speakers. You can, or with this, see the difference between a TN and an IP. Prefer to have that in your life. With hands, maybe it's that you know, with speakers and stuff, you end up having to pay a little for them. With this, it's more just the fact that you're pricing that refresh rate, so it's gone from, you know, 2, and when with this it's 4. But to be honest with you, playing the most amazingly intense, fast games, then I doubt you notice. I have to go for it. It's not something that I personally can I just tune into. But anyway, so the Enthusiast Award. Yes, it's expensive, but it's expensive when you take it all into account. I've shown you that there's no light bleed on these, but at the end of the day, when we talk about light bleed, if you get one with light bleed, and it can happen with all monitors, I know there was a lot of talk about it at the beginning, it's probably just, you just need to send back. You're never going to get products that have 100% success rate. I've shown you that this one is really good, and the other most thing from this is it came from retail as well, so it's not come direct from ASUS in a basically it's just so that way someone going to say, oh, they picked you the best one. It come in a seal from a retailer, so there's no to that. It was literally just taken off the shelf. But anyway, so I'm rambling and I apologise, but long story short, 40p is where sensible monitors are, and also kind of like sensible amount of money to drive it. You could buy a 4K monitor and then run it at 1440p and you go, but then also with a 1440 resolution as a desktop, obviously I think it's sort of better laid out, slightly bigger. Just prefer it for tasks when you move past as well. But that's my thoughts. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I'm not going to rabble and rant on any longer. This is PG2. But anyway, monitor, 660 quid. Yes, for a monitor, it's a lot of money. I kind of say it's kind of around the middle of the pack because you can get them a lot more money than this now. I've seen monitors for sort of around the 900. I actually like and prefer using, not be a monitor longer than they will a graphics card, and then turn into a slideshow or something like with some big drivers, basically, do you know, big dang hairy lock. You can do it cheap. You have to start turning all the settings down, and I don't see the point in having a monitor like this and then turning the settings on the game down because your graphics card's not man enough. So if you are thinking about something like this, 1440p, Swift, G-Sync, all of that type of stuff, then please, I say, get your graphics card up to spec first and then get your monitor later, rather than the other way around, because it will just be far more frustrating for you to have something this nice and then into a slideshow or something like that. So obviously, like I said, we've done this with a 1080, which is a good single core card. It's obviously money, but the other thing to kind of weigh up as well is if you're going to be spending sort of like 600 on a 1080, then the £660 for this balances it out. But also something else to kind of, I would kind of go as far as to say most people keep a monitor longer than they will a graphics card. If you're in this kind of enthusiast level territory anyway, then this is going to that you're probably going to keep for quite a while. It's worth spending a little bit more than because you can obviously get cheaper 1440p panels, but obviously you have to have massively high refresh rate, might not be IPS, G-Sync as well,